city of Baltimore.
We've always had surveillance. Most of the time it's unwarranted. It's a violation of the Constitution. It's done to intimidate people and interfere with their right to assemble and free speech. That's certainly the case with Occupy, with Black Lives Matter. You know, what are you
I got arrested at Occupy.
Or making the country safe. People forget that the Constitution extended these protections to people that the government wasn't going to like.
I went to jail for Occupy.
This is the genesis of hashtag Black Lives Matter. 2 years earlier in Florida, George Zimmerman stands trial for the shooting death of unarmed 17-year-old Trayvon Martin.
We, the jury, find George Zimmerman not guilty.
The verdict sends shockwaves through Black America. In Oakland, California, Alicia Garza, a workers' rights activist, had spent the day monitoring the trial through social media.
We just could not fathom that this man could get away with killing a child.
Wow.
And he wasn't a police officer. He's just some random dude who wanted to be like Neighborhood Watch.
Yeah.
That not guilty verdict changed something in my DNA.
Yeah.
Garza went on Facebook and posted her thoughts.
Black people, I love you. I love us. Our lives matter.
Mine does.
Black lives matter.
But what about my life? What about me?
When Alicia wrote the love letter.
I matter
A few hundred miles away,
I
Reform
matter
activist Patrice Cullors was also feeling the sting of the verdict.
I
To commiserate, she went online and saw Garza's post.
I saw the Black Lives Matter hashtag in front of it.
I matter
It must have been
too.
intuition.
What
And I
about
knew
me?
that those 3 letters needed to
What? Who's representing me?
I mean, that's what I wanted it to be. And I very quickly, told Alicia, let's make this a project. Let's have it be all out online and offline organizing project for Black lives.
How about me?
In Brooklyn, Opal Tometi, an immigrants' rights activist, was also acquainted with Alicia Garza.
I actually heard about this post that she had on Facebook, and I reached out to her directly and said, "Hey, this is brilliant. I really like what this says. I really like the hashtag, but I don't think it should just be amongst ourselves. I think we should actually build out a platform." So I went online, I bought a domain, I got Tumblr, I set up Facebook and all of those.
I did all that.
Let's just try it out and see where this goes. And it went viral because I have young Black
When
people
am
in
I
my
gonna
life.
go
I
viral?
wanted to build something that they can look to and be proud of, and to know truly that their life matters.
When am I gonna go viral? When does my life matter?
Black Lives Matter is able to organize its
What
first direct
about
action
my life?
The Target, a symbol of American wealth and leisure, Rodeo Drive.
This is where Black folks get stopped. This is where Black folks get frisked.
I got stopped. I got pressed. What about me?
I got on the microphone and asked the people who were drinking that champagne to bow their heads to Trayvon Martin. And I thought that was the least they could do.
In the months to come, the ranks of Black Lives Matter swell as social media accounts and viral video footage show men and women in altercations with the police. All of these people died, either soon after or while in custody.
Jason Harrison, Eric Garner, John Crawford III, Kajemi Powell, Tamir Rice, Jeremy Reed, Charlie Kanang, Philip White, Walter Scott, Freddie Gray, Sandra Bland, Samuel Dubose. And there are more. There are many more.
Garza, Cullors, and Tometi would combine their expertise to form the nucleus of a loose network dedicated to nonviolent direct action protests. Their project for racial justice would soon impact the nation and attract the eyes of local and federal law enforcement.
When I wrote those posts, I didn't know what was coming.
Get us several more units over here. There's going to be a problem.
High noon on Canfield Drive, Officer Darren Wilson shoots and kills unarmed 18-year-old Michael Brown. Brown's body lies in the street for several hours as traumatized residents look on, compare notes, and use smartphones.
I didn't get down there until maybe 9 p.m. and you could still see his blood in the street.
Earlier that day, Ashley Yates had been working at a St. Louis department store and checking her Twitter feed.
I logged on that day, and I saw a dead black boy in the street, and then I saw that it was Ferguson, and then I saw that it was Ferguson, Missouri. Something immediately shifted in me, like the rage that was inside of me that day. I couldn't go home and sit with that.
Ashley is a force. I remember showing up to St. Louis and asking, where are the women? I know they're on the front lines. And I remember Ashley just having a fire that pierced through all of us.
You saw a community that was trying to hold each other, trying to understand not only what had happened with a young child getting murdered, but also the police response. You saw people that came outside, saw a dead body, and then had to face canine units. Just for saying, this dead boy shouldn't be laying in the street.
My son laying her life for no apparent reason because he walked to the store.
The notes that were being compared all said the exact same thing, and that was that boy was surrendering, that his hands were up. After hours of being ignored by the police, I realized, we have to do something more. The 50 or 60 people that we had out obviously weren't enough. We weren't doing something that would elicit a response.
Thank you for peacefully protesting. This is what it's about.
In the days that follow, peaceful protests are overshadowed by pockets of vandalism and looting. The unrest is met by a now militarized police force.
Baby, back up. Hey, Erica, this way. They fucking throwing tear gas at us. Here they go. Fucking throwing tear gas. Get back. Don't shoot.
It definitely, for me, was a moment which I realized the power of social media and Twitter and the immediacy of it and how people can meet that need.
Ashley Yates' Twitter profile reverberates around the world, but with that came disturbing consequences.
When I go to New York, and I'm from St. Louis, and a cop calls me Brown Blaze on the street. I was maybe at the protest for 5 minutes when a cop grabbed me by my arm and was like, Brown Blaze, get out the street. It was scary, but it was also well, I know exactly where, you're gaining your intel.
Law enforcement saw social media as an obvious way to track BLM, whose organizing strength relies
call me
so
Sassy
heavily on
Grace.
Facebook and especially Twitter.
Black Lives Matter has used Twitter really fantastically. I think it's become our news. We had information all the time. We knew what was going on. It makes all the difference.
All over
Wilmington,
Twitter.
Minnesota, December 2014. On the busiest shopping day of the year, thousands of Black Lives Matter protesters fill Mall of America, the largest shopping center in the country. Documents obtained through the Freedom of Information Act, including this photo, show that mall officials had tracked Black Lives Matter protesters using a fake Facebook account.
Every officer in there had a picture of me, and I had a disguise on, and they're staring at this piece of paper and staring at my face, and I'm sitting there but the energy, I have to say, it was magnetic.
FOIA documents show that both the city and mall colluded to sue selective activists for loss of income, including the cost of the private and public police force used to stop the event. After months in court, all charges were dismissed.
You're stopping people from shopping, which is stopping somebody from making money. On the biggest shopping day of the year, you have stopped capital from moving. They do not like that.
For many involved with Black Lives Matter, the technology might be new, but surveillance of civil rights groups in the United States has a long history.
The FBI, under a program called COINTELPRO, created at the behest of J. Edgar Hoover, was designed to stall the civil rights movement and to cause it to unravel.
Under COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program, Racial justice organizations were infiltrated by informants, provocateurs, and undercover police. Some leaders were framed and murdered.
Surveillance was the go-to tactic. Who's meeting? What are they planning to do? What has happened to that sensibility, the desire to destroy? Has it been policed out of existence? Has it been dismantled and deconstructed, or does it still exist? Imagine how it is possible now when much of the organizing is over the internet.
We have precedent and we have reason to be nervous and to be fearful for the lives and the livelihoods of people who are really putting themselves on the front line to do this work.
As Homeland Security sets its sights on Black Lives Matter, the agency has at its disposal an increasingly advanced and secretive structure of surveillance.
Eisenhower warned us about the military-industrial complex, where we have now a militarized intelligence complex. And you do have to ask about their motives. When they go after a Black Lives movement, or they go after Occupy or anything else.
State power knows how to respond to an insurgency that they've seen before. Using the internet, it's coming in a new way. And of course, the repression is going to come, in a new way as well.
In the wake of 9/11, centers of surveillance were erected in cities and towns across the United States. Largely a creation of Homeland Security, these centers were designed to combat terrorism by collecting surveillance data, cameras, and other assets. In Los Angeles, it's called the Real-Time Critical Response Division. In Chicago, it's the Crime Prevention Information Center. In New York, it's simply called Ring of Steel.
I assume that they're monitoring my email, my phone calls, my locations, and who I'm with at whatever point in time.
I asked you guys that JoJo and Rhino. What do you guys?
In 2013, Oakland, California rolled out its Domain Awareness Center. The DAC would be the hub of a more massive system of surveillance with the most sophisticated technology.
You're nice.
That included automatic license plate readers, heat and motion detectors,
She
and
lost
possibly
her
even
remote.
facial
No.
recognition software.
Wait a minute,
To
what?
make all this happen, the City of Oakland chose the Services of Science Applications International Corporation.
Right.
SAIC is a defense contractor with a long history of unscrupulous dealings, from defrauding municipal governments to helping enable nations known for their human rights violations. The system would be acquired through federal grants earmarked to protect Oakland's ports. But as shown in this city council meeting, from the beginning, Oakland police had other plans.
If there is some additional uses, then we should know what those are.
Predominantly two events. Number one, protests, of course. Also special events.
Protests broke out that succeeded in confining the surveillance to the port. For now. Deputy Chief David Downing agrees to sit down for an interview.
As technology keeps emerging, well, then you want a place where there's a central conduit for that information to go.
Chief Downing unapologetically uses social media to watch groups like Black Lives Matter.
Yes, we use social media just like everybody else because it's open source. It's absolutely, completely open to the public. We're part of the public. We monitor all groups.
The technology is effective as a surveillance tool to identify and then intimidate people who are daring to protest.
This should be concerning for everybody. This practice of dissuading dissent.
Black Lives Matter takes its cues from social justice movements of the past, and they're particularly aware of the role surveillance and infiltration played in the demise of some of those movements.
We're in the 21st century. Technology has evolved. The methods and mechanisms for surveillance and infiltration have also evolved. And so I don't doubt it for a minute that is happening to us too.
At a Black Lives Matter demonstration in Oakland, 2 undercover highway patrol officers are outed by protesters. The situation gets dangerous. During a Black Lives Matter demonstration in Chicago, an emergency management vehicle rides parallel to the demonstrators. Activists say their cell phones behave oddly and speculate in real time that the SUV is carrying a cell phone data collection device called a Stingray. Documents suggest Chicago police began buying controversial Stingrays in 2005. This intercepted police audio suggests a stingray was being used to spy on a BLM organizer during a Black Friday protest 1 week earlier.
So,
One of the girls that's kind of organizer here. She's been on her phone a lot. You guys picking up any?
does anybody see anything wrong with that? You can check anything I have. I am not hiding from nobody or nothing. I'm Sassy Grace.